So welcome along. Today I'm going to do some drawing. Get some of this shit out of the way. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'm going to do some drawing on this bleed-proof paper. This is a kind of very thin paper. It's sort of, you can use it as tracing paper, so you can see through it. It's transparent, semi-transparent. Some people use this for inking on top of their pencils in comics production. If you don't have a light box, so this can be useful. And it's something different to draw on, something a little bit different. So I'm going to give it a go, and we'll just do this for about 20 minutes or so. All right. So let's get started. I don't know why I prefer, I would say I prefer to draw with text, like ink. I prefer to draw with ink. I'm not sure why that is. Yeah, like it could be just because of the contrast. I love the, like the strong contrast, and it could be about the sort of permanence of it. And it could be just like a comic aesthetic thing, liking that sort of inked line. So I remember like when I was younger, and I used to draw these comic strips in ink, like pens, and I'd use textures and stuff, and a lot of liquid paper. And then at some point I became aware that I was supposed to be the process was to, the process of professionals was to start with pencils. So you'd have a penciler, and then an inker would come along. Sometimes it's the same person, but that whoever it would be would ink the pages. So either directly over the pencils, applying ink and brush and whatnot, or using a light box and inking it. So that would make it dark enough for reproduction. And yeah, so maybe that's why. But actually, these days, a lot of artists will just sort of reproduce, because of reproduction and scanning technology's got a lot better with time. So people would scan their pencils and then just use the Photoshop and whatever to make the pencils dark enough to read. So this is called digital inking, just using levels and different wizardry to do that. But anyway, so when I was younger, I would draw a lot of comics, and then at some point I thought I'd start penciling, and then I did that for a while, and then after a while I sort of lost interest. Now I'm not sure if that was sort of just because I was sort of 19 and starting to go out and pursue other interests for a while, or what. But I remember thinking at the time, I don't enjoy this as much, and I had this idea, this is the way it's supposed to be done, and I would buy A3 or American US sized Bristol board to pencil, and I was like, man, this sucks. So I was just used to using A4 copy paper and pens and I never really got used to doing it the proper way. It's an interesting texture, like this pen on this paper. Really a little bit of grip, but it also glides quite nicely as well. Some paper will just eat certain pens. Sort of what I mean by that is sort of like some paper has this real texture and thickness to it, and when you're using like Copic markers or any of these textures or pens or stuff, they'll just they'll just like pull the ink out of the pens and yeah, and really like they can be quite rough on the brush tips. So that's a consideration if you've got nice expensive ink pens, markers and stuff. Some papers will be very unkind to them. I'm going to swap now to my left hand. And actually, for the swap, I might change my pen. I'm going to change this as a Stabilo Sensor Fine .03. If you can see that. Yep, a very fine pen tip. And okay, it's a little bit dense, that one. So maybe I'll use something else, but I want to use a different color so that I can differentiate the different things. So here, let's try this pen. Oh man, okay, I've got so many pens that don't work. All right, so this right now is this is sort of just kind of like figuring out how I use this hand again. I'm going to do it for a while. Like the left hand, my non-dominant hand, just gets out of touch, out of practice, I guess you can say. So like just rolling it around in my hand. Can try like an overhand grip. Okay. So wonky. So I never really learned how to hold a pen properly. Yeah. So I don't know what that means, but I remember in primary school, weirdly, I was like the first kid in class that was sort of allowed to use a pen because I had mastered the pencil pretty early. And then, so I got a pen. I was one of the first to get a pen. I remember that vividly as an early win. But, yeah, I never really got the hang of holding it properly. They gave me this sort of little guide kind of thing. They're like this rubber thing I was supposed to put my fingers on to put them in the right place, but it never felt right to me. There's actually a comic artist, Eric Larson. He's one of the founders of Image Comics, and he holds a pen like he uses this weird overhand grip like this, if you can see. And yeah, and he's really prolific. I don't know what, like, tried holding it like this some time, and probably like this plus with my left hand's not gonna get much out of it in terms of like a finish line, but it's pretty interesting. Can sort of like go to my right. I think I can. Yeah, no, it's still awkward. So that's all right. But I felt like I haven't drawn much like these last few days, so this is just get me back into it. Get my hand back into it and get my eye back into it. This is interesting, these sort of like conglomerations of lines and stuff. It's interesting. My mother would say. Interesting usually means something that is someone's too polite to say it looks terrible, so to say it looks interesting. All right, I'm going to kick off the left hand and back to the right. And might rip out the Sharpie. So I feel like at this point I'm kind of warmed up. I'm gonna draw some little character dudes. This sort of doodling is always just such a great way to get started, get warmed up. Oh my hay fever still not relented, not relented. Apparently thanks to the El Nino. El Nino. Back to the left. Slowly filling up the page with all of this unpublishable practice. There's a fly. There's a fly in my room. Also practice holding the pen a little differently. See how it feels. It doesn't feel too bad actually holding it like this. Alright, there we go. I'm warmed up now. And yeah, that's kind of fun. Just I didn't mind using the bleed proof paper. It was pretty good. 70 GSM. And premium smooth bright white surface for crisp marker renderings. I agree, it was good. 10 out of 10. Hope you had fun. Catch you next time.